What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our Buffalo State College Bengals Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. In the last episode, oh boy, I wish I had some good news, but the Bengals got absolutely waxed by the Michigan Wolverines 38-10. If there is any good news to come out of this, however, it is that the Bengals do start MAC conference play next week. But for now, you know exactly why you're here. You want to see some recruiting. Buffalo State has improved steadily over the past couple seasons, of course winning the MAC championship last year behind their first recruiting class. We've seen firsthand how important recruiting is to success with players like Lance Rice, Leon Jacobs, Billy Myers, Dennis Vincent, Tony Hawkins, and Jay Woods really setting the foundation in Buffalo State. I think the future is strong in this one. Regardless of which powerhouse school kicks our butt next, we have a good reason to stay optimistic. Our school is improving day by day, and it starts with head coach Malik Dupree. With all the turnover on this roster, the fact that he could go from 4-8 in his first year of hiring all the way up to 8-5 in his second year is the lone reason why Buffalo State is in position to get some higher caliber recruits this year. With only 10 seniors leaving the program this year, they have a chance to really capitalize and finally establish some depth. And with that MAC championship win under their belt, Malik Dupree has leverage to go after better players, and we're going to take a look at who some of those prospects are in these recruiting clips provided by HuskieNation TV. Check his link out in the description after this video. Xavier Silvers came out of New York 2 years ago as a big-time possession receiver, and it was questionable if we'd ever see another wideout of his caliber from the area. Well, I've got great news from you. Enter from the Bronx, New York, Will Landry, a speedy wide receiver standing at 6 foot, 185. And is polished enough as a receiver to be an instant game changer for whatever school is lucky enough to earn his services. One of the top shortstop prospects in New York, Will Landry has reliable hands, but also elite speed as he led the state of New York in stolen bases. As a perennial 4-star talent, Buffalo State has never been in contention for a player of his prospect, but this year could finally be the year that Buffalo State adds a big fish to their pond. As mentioned, a perennial speed threat, great hands, and Buffalo State only battles the team that beat them last episode, the Michigan Wolverines, for Landry's services. Hailing from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania is cornerback Drew Mason, who is ranked the number 13th cornerback in the nation, but for some reason is only a 3-star, and I can't figure it out. Maybe it's his size at 5'10", 183? But compared to some of the other players Buffalo State assigned on the defensive backfield over the years, it's hardly a concern. An anonymous scout said that he saw Drew Mason at their junior day last season, and he was already better than Melvin Flanagan and Fred Houston, which isn't really saying much, but the Bengals could have a serious gem on their hands if Drew Mason does decide to put his name on paper. It is thought right now that the Bengals have a lead on him, and they get the early visit, which pretty much would ensure Drew Mason's commitment. I expect this to be a lock. Remember that one time last year where Buffalo State was looking for a replacement for hailed linebacker Matthew Littlefield? They settled for a guy named Bender Rover. He turned out alright, obviously. But a player in the next class, or this one that was offered earlier than Rover, is Rodney Alston, the number 28th linebacker in this class, from Catonsville, Maryland, measuring at 6 foot, 244 pounds. I think he's a favorable candidate to move to the outside in Buffalo State's scheme, even though they have so much linebacker depth already. Alston hits hard, he's great in pursuit, can rush the passer, and excels in coverage. I just named everything that makes a linebacker good. Alston's only drawback is, quote-unquote, his height, but I expect him to come in and be an absolute monster for the Bengals next year. Come on down to South Park and have yourself a time from South Park, Pennsylvania, actually, which just so happens to be the home of mauling guard Quinton Fowler, and this guy's a monster, especially for the Bengals, who, if you've been tracking their offensive line performance over the past 3 weeks, they definitely need some work and could use an upgrade at right tackle. I think that Quinton Fowler has the ability to play any spot on the line at 6'5", 296, and could especially step in and provide instant competition at right tackle. Bengals feel like he's been overlooked, and quite frankly, I agree. Nobody else has offered him a scholarship, which is unbelievable, especially considering his strength alone, but he's also a balanced pass and run blocker. None other than the sweet town of Lewiston, Idaho. What, you've never heard of it? Well, it happens to be a 40-minute drive from Madden Stadium where the Washington State Cougars play, and defensive end prospect Derrick Taylor was at that game and received his official offer from the Bengals after they won in overtime against the Cougars. Yeah, it's a fat trek across the country for a 6'4", 245-pound small-town defensive end, but Dupree and the Bengals see enough in Taylor where it's going to be a very good relationship. He's actually expected to announce his commitment in just a couple weeks when he takes his official visit to Buffalo State against Central Michigan, along with many other players, but we'll get to that later on. Derrick Taylor, excellent player, should help bolster this defensive line quite a bit. Okay, yeah, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, Legion, but we have Lance. Shut up. So Adrian Armstrong is leaving, and the Bengals need a backup quarterback, and with Lance Rice entering his junior year next year, it's never too early to start worrying about the future. At 6', 178, Travis Walker is the number 69th ranked quarterback, all the more reason that Buffalo State should pursue him out of Baltimore, Maryland. A speedy, talented, yet undersized 3-star player. Are you catching a trend for this Buffalo State recruiting class? With only utilizing 12 scholarships per year, Travis Walker needs to prove that he is worthy of this spot, as they could use this scholarship offer for many other players to fill role positions. Nonetheless, Travis Walker is heavily favoring the Bengals, as they're really his only big-time scholarship offer. Right now, I'd say he's a good player, but is kind of an athlete playing quarterback. I would say let Lance Rice be the Alex Smith to his Patrick Mahomes. Another running back, because Leon Jacobs is entering his senior campaign and they really need to start thinking about either a replacement or a few more role players to fill the Travis O'Connell type role. I think Damien Hudson is the perfect example of this, as he's not the most fast player, he's not the best receiver, and he's not the most elusive or powerful runner, but he gets it done on every level very adequately. And heck, I would say that with Nicholas Lee leaving, you could even move this guy to fullback and he could do some work there as well. A very versatile player, played both sides of the ball and special teams, and is an absolute film junkie. The third of the Damien Hudsons isn't likely to be a full-time starter per se for Buffalo State, but I say he could fill the role of a third down back particularly well, or maybe even as a fullback for Buffalo State in the meantime if they do choose to go to a running back by committee approach following the upcoming graduation of Leon Jacobs. Obviously, that's not for a couple seasons, but it's always good to get a head start on things. Georgia Tech hasn't actually offered Damien Hudson a scholarship, so Buffalo State wants to try and close this out fast. Another tight end on Buffalo State's recruiting board. They've had one per year so far, and Keith Lockhart is the next addition. And yes, the cliche of basketball players playing tight end is totally in full effect here, as it is the case. From Minneapolis, Minnesota, Keith Lockhart is a speed freak who didn't actually join the football team until his sophomore year of high school, when in gym class he was running the FitnessGram Pacer test and caught the attention of his gym teacher, who also happened to be the football coach, the more you know. Hawaii did offer a scholarship to Lockhart though, and they are pursuing him very heavily. This may be one of the few Bengals recruiting battles over the past couple seasons that goes into the offseason, but Lockhart is worth it. Jeff Harmon is a free safety all the way from Ardmore, Oklahoma, coming in at 6 foot 175. While the Bengals may be happy to take Harmon's services and develop him for a little bit, he would not get Gordon Ramsay's approval, as he is what we call raw. For now, he is deaf, but Jay Woods is going to be entering his junior campaign next season and will need a replacement sitting behind him. Harmon has the range, he has the hit power. The only issue with him is that he was actually moved from cornerback his sophomore year because he couldn't cover. Obviously, safety helped him make up that ground a little bit, but it won't fly at the next level. Harmon needs to put on his A game if he ever wants to start in the NCAA. Because he's not a day one starter per se, Harmon has scared some teams away. Buffalo State is his only scholarship option at the moment, and will also be visiting in week 7. Line depth is great. Line depth with future starting potential, however, is highly coveted by any team in college football. A local kid from New York, New York, Toby Allen has gone underrated as a slightly undersized guard, ranked 105th in the nation. Allen isn't the most technical blocker, but he does have some physical upside that allow him to win at the line of scrimmage, specifically his strength and his lateral movement skills. He's a great blocker on any stretch play, as you saw on that one, and will hold up just fine in pass protection as well. He fits a very similar profile coming in as current Buffalo State starting left guard Chris Turner. Buffalo State is considered the favorite for Allen. He is expected to commit after his visit in week 7. Dennis Vincent is a product of an undersized defensive tackle who fit well with the Bengals and was named second team All-MAC his first year. And those types of stories get out to larger prospects, even all the way to the desert of Mesa, Arizona. Nate Jones may only be the 36th ranked defensive tackle in the nation, in part because he only weighs 280 pounds, which some teams feel like, unbelievably, is a little too light. Like seriously, I wake up at like 140 every single day. But I feel like Jones is the most complete defensive tackle prospect, and yes, even better than Dennis Vincent coming in, as he's more athletic, has more moves in his arsenal, and simply had better high school production. The Bengals recently offered Jones and are his only D1 scholarship offer, so they have to hope that he goes unpursued. Oh man, we got a change in music. This one must be special, and it is Noah Brooks. Out of DeKalb, Illinois, he is the number 2 ranked pocket passer in the nation. A little small as a pocket passer at 6 foot 190, but apparently when you're as cool as him, your size does not reflect your recruiting ranking. Brooks is a stud, he's a winner, he's won 2 state championships, he plays jazz drums, he makes YouTube videos, almost like my good friend HuskieNation TV. They even have the same name. I know what you're probably thinking. When is this absolute stud gonna commit to Buffalo State? When will he overthrow Lance Rice for his starting job? And when will he overtake Legion for his sports broadcasting job? Well, unfortunately, I've got some bad news for you. Pretty good for me, but Noah Brooks is not interested in Buffalo State at this point. He narrowed down his top 4 schools to Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Stanford, leaving Buffalo State out. This guy doesn't have any mobility. His arm is less than adequate for a blue chip passer, but mark my words, Noah Brooks is going to be a problem, especially if he's in the Big Ten, where Buffalo State is rumored to end up later. Brady Banta, the fullback, is nothing short of an absolute monster. He is the number 1 fullback from Seattle, Washington, coming in at 6'4", 255, and my goodness, he does not seem like he's 255. I feel like he's a little overrated just because of how high his ceiling is as a physical specimen, but that being said, I also don't think he has many holes in his game. I just feel like he's a very raw prospect as a fullback. He's a very traditional fullback where he's going to be a lead blocker, and specifically a lead blocker. Maybe take some handoffs in power situations because of how big he is, but unfortunately he is not interested in Buffalo State. I know you were dreaming about him, ready to make fan art, but Banta is actually looking to take his talents all the way across the country to West Virginia. He's got 69 speed, so that'll be nice for him. Buffalo State visited both Marshall Chase and Bender Rover in Ohio when looking for replacements for Matthew Littlefield, even though they were in different classes. Chase is more of your traditional thumping linebacker whose physical presence can be intimidating. He is 6'5", weighs in at 225, so he can be lean enough to play coverage, but won't be man covering George Kittle anytime soon. If you're playing against him, he's gonna fill your gap and pound the shit out of you. Mega pause. Anyways, 24/7 Sports ranked him as the 27th ranked middle linebacker in the class, but he is not coming to Buffalo State. He's down to Purdue and Northwestern. That's okay, they got Rodney Alston. Despite being listed as the number 10 corner in the class and a perennial 4-star, I have Eddie Jones from Buffalo, New York, a local kid, listed as a pure defensive back. Mainly a nickel because honestly he can play any spot on the back end and play it pretty well. This is due to his plus athleticism, but he's also a specialist in man coverage and is never afraid to come up and step in run support. I'd say he's purely a nickel and would fit excellent in Buffalo State's scheme overall, as they haven't gotten great production from that position so far to this point in the series. The only problem for the Bengals is that Eddie Jones is down to one team, and that is Michigan State. He wants to become a Spartan. The number 1 ranked free safety in the class is another impressive one. Meet Steve Willowson from Boston, Massachusetts, towering at 6'3", but weighing in at 185. He is essentially a beanpole, but a rangy one at that. Some of these 18, 19-year-old kids are absolute physical freaks and make me rethink everything, but Steve Willowson is a little bit less so, showing that you don't have to be like 6'5", 255 pounds to be a perennial blue chip recruit. This is because of his range ultimately and his coverage ability, but he's also a very sure tackler, even citing his game from Earl Thomas, and I quote, "Yes, the prime Earl Thomas, not the lead blocking for Derrick Henry Earl Thomas." After that comment, it scared some teams away, but he still has a scholarship offer from USC and is expected to commit very soon. We're going to go over some other general recruiting things, but if you enjoyed that prospect spotlight, it takes a lot of work every single year. Please drop a like and subscribe for the love of franchise and dynasty content, as we're looking to bring in everybody for a Week 7 visit against the Central Michigan Chippewas. That is in just 2 games, so make sure you turn that notification bell on to know exactly when that happens so you can witness Buffalo State history. Since Brady Banta decided to dip all the way to West Virginia, the Bengals needed another fullback and decided to go after 1-star prospect Jermaine Barnes, who is definitely okay, but he isn't Nicholas Lee. Granted, nobody is, but should be a solid 4-year starter. We advance the week and get some solid news as Barnes himself becomes the first commitment of the recruiting cycle. Last week, the Bengals were in the Big House, and this week they traveled to the east side to take on the Eastern Michigan Eagles in what will be the first MAC conference game of the season, so make sure you are hyped for that. Obviously, Eastern Michigan is notoriously pretty bad, so it should be an easy win for the Bengals to take out some of that frustration in the loss against Michigan. Overall, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much to HuskieNation TV for the help. Please go subscribe to him now and drop a like and subscribe for the love of franchise and dynasty content, because that is all we do here. I'm really excited for this recruiting class, as it's probably going to be the best of the series hands down to this point, showing that we can build a winner together here at Buffalo State. Thanks for watching. Click to see more.